Welcome to the deep dive. We've got some really interesting documents today looking at this AIDA aid tool and a guide called From Measurement to Action.
That's right. It's all about leading a skills-based organization.
Yeah. And our mission here really is to get under the skin of this big shift,
Mm.
where skills suddenly seem to matter maybe more than the old qualifications.
And how tools like ADA and this new A to Aid thing can actually, well, help us understand ourselves better and maybe do something with that understanding.
Exactly, to get those key insights without getting totally lost in the jargon. So where do we start, this shifting landscape?
I think that makes sense. The guide kicks off with this idea that, well, professional success isn't just about the degree hanging on the wall anymore, is it?
No, it feels much more about what you can do. Like, can you adapt, solve problems, work with others, maybe lead a bit?
Precisely. And the guide puts socio-emotional skills right at the center of that.
Socio-emotional skills. Can you unpack that a little?
Sure. The OECD definition is helpful here. They talk about them as individual characteristics, how we tend to think, feel, and act, sort of consistent patterns.
Okay. Well,
But the
yeah.
key thing is they're not set in stone. They're malleable. You can measure them, and they actually predict stuff.
Predict stuff, like success.
Yeah, potential for success, both professionally and personally. These skills impact how well we learn. They boost our technical skills even. Think about adapting to change or bouncing back. Resilience, innovation too.
Mm-hmm.
And the guide mentions they help create healthier workplaces, which makes sense, right?
Totally. It's that whole emotional intelligence side of things. And the guide mentions these models, Ocean and Hexaco,
Mm-hmm.
used in big international studies.
Right, like PISA and PAAC.
Yeah.
ADN Intelligence uses those same underlying validated models.
Why is that important, that global validation?
Well, it just gives it a really solid foundation. It means the skills ADA measures things like self-awareness, empathy, decision-making, persistence, resilience. These are recognized as important pretty much everywhere. It's not just some random list.
Okay, got it. But here's the snag the guide points out. Everyone sort of knows these skills are important.
But measuring them, that's the tricky part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Udemy Business apparently found most companies want to be skills-based, but they're still struggling with the how. How do you measure this stuff?
It is a real challenge. How do you quantify adaptability
Right.
or empathy? It's tough.
Is that where AI comes in? The guide mentions ethical AI, like ADA intelligence.
Yes, that's presented as a major part of the solution. The idea is that AI can potentially pick up on subtle patterns, maybe measure emotional states, identify those skills, spot gaps, and even help design personalized ways to improve.
Personalized development paths. Okay, that leads us nicely into ADA itself. And this ADA, the document calls it an AI agent for human development. Sounds fancy.
It does sound a bit sci-fi, maybe, but the concept seems pretty grounded. Basically, ADA Aid takes your assessment report.
The one from ADA Intelligence.
Right. And it talks you through it. It analyzes the results, gives you feedback that sort of adapts based on what you ask.
So it's conversational.
Yeah, that's the idea. And it guides you to build an actual action plan tailored to your own goals.
So less like reading a static report and more like having an AI coach.
That's a good way to put it. The document says you can chat about your scores, figure out what they really mean, pinpoint areas you want to work on.
And get specific recommendations.
Tailored recommendations, yeah. And help actually structuring a personal development plan, with concrete steps.
That sounds genuinely useful, taking the data and making it, well, usable. What's the main goal of ADA then?
The core idea seems to be bridging that gap we talked about, moving from just having the data to really understanding yourself, gaining that self-awareness, and then turning that awareness into action. It's about boosting emotional intelligence, self-knowledge, and helping you make better decisions for yourself. Empowerment, really.
Okay, so practically, if I just did an assessment, how do I use it?
The doc says it's right there on your results dashboard. After you finish the assessment with ADA Intelligence, you'll see a link or button for ADA Aid. Click it, a chat window opens, and you start the conversation. It's designed to be guided.
And ADA Intelligence itself, the guide reminds us, measures over 40 of these skills.
That's right. Using those validated frameworks, it covers a pretty wide spectrum: emotional self-awareness, empathy, decision-making, persistence, resilience, lots of key areas.
Okay, so all this focus on skills leads to this concept of skills-based organizations, SBOs.
Right. A big shift away from just looking at job titles or where someone worked before.
It's about the skills they have and how they can be used anywhere in the company.
Exactly. Much more fluid. Looking at what people can contribute across different projects or roles, regardless of their official title.
And the benefits sound, well, huge. The guide mentions things like 98% better talent retention.
Yeah, and big jumps in innovation, anticipating change, and talent allocation. That one was over 100% improvement.
Wow. How does focusing on skills drive that kind of change? Let's take the talent allocation one.
Well, imagine you need someone really good at, say, strategic thinking for a short project. In a traditional setup, you'd look at job
All right.
titles.
Who's a strategist?
But with a skills-based view, you might find someone in marketing or finance even who has exceptionally strong, measured strategic thinking skills. The system identifies them based on skill, not role.
Ah, so you deploy talent more precisely. Makes sense.
And the guide says SBOs also encourage continuous learning. They're more meritocratic because skills matter more than just credentials.
More inclusive, maybe?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
And productivity gets linked more directly to actual impact, not just time spent in a role.
And AI, like ADA, is sort of the engine making this possible. Finding the skills, spotting the gaps, tailoring the training.
It's definitely positioned as a key enabler, detecting those gaps in real time, personalizing the learning, giving leaders the data they need. It mentions measuring things like resilience, adaptability, leadership potential, confidence, critical thinking.
Using those ocean and hexaco frameworks.
Yeah, exactly. It gives that common language for skills.
The sales team example was quite clear, too, measuring sociability, energy, determination.
Yeah, instead of generic sales training, you can say, okay, this team needs help specifically with building rapport or maybe with closing techniques based on the skills data. Much more targeted investment.
Makes sense. And we're seeing companies actually do this. Unilever's internal marketplace sounds cool.
Yeah, moving people around based on skills and project needs, not rigid roles. It breaks down silos.
And AT&T investing heavily in reskilling, including these socio-emotional skills.
Shows a real long-term commitment. They reportedly saw reduced turnover and more innovation because of it. It's not just companies, though. We hear from Diana in the guide saying AD helped her see her strengths and weaknesses clearly. Exactly. It brings it back to the individual. It's not just about organizational charts. It's about personal growth and feeling clearer about your own path.
That quote from Peter Drucker feels very relevant. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. Applied to talent.
It's a powerful idea. And the guide contrasts this measurement approach with traditional methods, which, let's face it, can be pretty subjective. Performance reviews, interviews.
Prone to bias.
Unconscious bias is a big issue, yeah. Tools like ADA, using psychometrics and AI, aim for more objectivity, quicker results, more context, potentially less bias than just an interview or a self-rating.
And the result, focusing on skills over just degrees, apparently leads to a 63% jump in effective hiring and more equity.
That's what the research cited suggests. You open the door to talent you might have missed if you only looked at specific degrees or universities. It widens the pool.
And there's return on investment, too. Better retention, job satisfaction, training effectiveness.
The guide presents data suggesting positive impacts across those areas for organizations using ADA.
Let's talk about some of those transformation journeys mentioned. The graduate program one is interesting.
Yeah, using emotional intelligence assessments to boost students' leadership confidence and even their interview performance. Practical outcomes.
And Aileen in Malaysia, redefining her career plan after using ADA.
Again, that personal empowerment angle, gaining clarity to make changes.
Then there's the global startup using it in onboarding.
Right, focusing on socio-emotional skills from day one to improve teamwork and cut down on people leaving in that crucial first year. It shows the organizational impact.
It really ties it all together. These examples make it concrete.
They show it's not just theory. People and companies are actually using this stuff and seeing results.
Okay, let's shift to leadership. The guide talks about leaders moving from being a boss to a coach.
Yeah, less directing, more facilitating, creating opportunities for people to grow their skills.
It mentions Gallup's 5 talents of great managers.
Which are all about motivating, driving results, accountability, building relationships, making good decisions. A lot of that ties back to understanding and developing people's strengths.
And that Adam Grant quote about great leaders creating environments for growth.
It really captures that shift. It's about enabling potential, not just managing tasks.
How does AI fit into this leadership picture?
Well, the guide suggests AI gives leaders better data, insights into who has what skills, where the gaps are.
So they can personalize support.
Exactly. And build more resilient teams because they have a clearer picture of the team's overall capabilities.
The World Economic Forum's list of key human skills for leaders' strategic thinking, EQ, adaptability.
Yeah.
It emphasizes these aren't purely technical roles anymore.
Absolutely not. Leaders need those socio-emotional skills probably more than ever to navigate complexity and inspire people.
And the guide emphasizes continuous assessment, dynamic roles, feedback, upskilling. It sounds like a very active approach to team building.
It has to be to stay agile. It's not a one-time assessment. It's an ongoing process of development and adaptation.
Now, the guide also talks about partnerships, the ADA ecosystem. Why is that important?
Well, implementing this kind of change isn't trivial. It's a big shift for an organization.
Right.
So the ecosystem is about bringing together partners, consultants, trainers, other platforms maybe, to help companies actually use the data from ADA to turn insights into action and tailor training effectively.
The case study about the innovation team in Latin America was pretty compelling.
It really was. They used ADA to see strengths and weaknesses. Then they actually redesigned job crafting, they called it, based on individual skills profiles.
Personalized training, peer feedback.
And the results were significant. Better collaboration, faster prototyping, less turnover. It shows the power of connecting the assessment data to real workplace changes and support.
It really illustrates that idea of personalization we keep coming back to.
And it reflects broader trends in corporate learning moving away from one-size-fits-all towards something much more adaptable and individualized. The data points on skill gaps just reinforce why this is becoming so necessary.
Okay, so for an organization thinking, right, we want to do this, the guide actually lays out steps, a practical guide.
Yes, 6 main steps for implementing a skills-based approach. It tries to make it manageable.
What are the highlights?
Well, first, figure out the skills that actually matter most for your organization's future. Then, map the talent you already have using something like AD Intelligence.
The you stand.
Exactly. Then, crucially, communicate the change, the why, and get leadership on board. Create ways for skills to be visible, like an internal talent marketplace where projects are posted by skill needed.
Ooh.
Then, personalize learning based on the data you've gathered. Link those skill maps to your training resources. And finally, keep measuring, iterating, adjusting. It's not a one-shot deal.
And some key tips within that, like prioritizing socio-emotional skills.
Yeah, citing the WEF again, using the data dashboards, explaining the rationale clearly, making sure learning is targeted.
And setting KPIs to track progress.
Right. You need to know if it's working. The little anecdote about the logistics company was interesting, too.
Where they used ADA and found the issues weren't just technical skills.
Exactly. It helped them understand the underlying human dynamics affecting productivity and culture, a more holistic view.
So, wrapping this up, it feels like the main takeaway is this really fundamental shift happening. Skills, especially these socio-emotional ones, are becoming central.
Definitely. To the future of work, individual careers, organizational success. It touches everything.
And tools like ADA and this upcoming ADA seem poised to offer really personalized ways to, first, understand ourselves better through data.
Gain that self-knowledge, yeah, like Galia's experience mentioned in the guide.
And then, crucially, guide our development based on that knowledge. It feels like a powerful combination for both people and companies.
It does. It moves assessment from being just a judgment to being a starting point for growth.
So, for everyone listening, maybe the question is, how can understanding your specific skills, your potential, help you on your path? It's worth thinking about.
And if you want a tangible first step, ADA is offering that free socio-emotional skills assessment. Just email eda@aidintelligence.com. It's a practical way to start exploring.
That's a great offer. And there are more stories, more examples on YouTube if people want to dig deeper.
Yeah, lots of success stories there.
So maybe the final thought to leave people with is, we've talked a lot about information and trends. But how do you personally move from just knowing about this shift to actively using self-knowledge, developing your skills, and really shaping your own future within it?
That's the real challenge, isn't it? Moving from information to transformation.